Mess with me here. We've seen less explosion from Brendan Sorsby and the Bearcats passing attack, and it seems to be a concerted effort from the opponents. Just how successful can this Bearcats passing attack be against Utah?
You are Locked On Bearcats, your daily podcast on the Cincinnati Bearcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Bearcats podcast. My name is Jeff Carr, and I'm all Cincinnati all the time. I've been in multiple athletic departments in a media relations capacity, and I've been a season ticket holder for Bearcats football for 7 seasons now. I'm glad that you're alongside me here today. Locked On Bearcats is part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team, your Bearcats, every single day. And on today's podcast, Chad Brendel is back with us, and he will get us his early week predictions later on in the show for some late night football in Salt Lake City. In just a minute, we'll break down how the Bearcats rushing attack can copy paste their success from this latest win coming up this week. But I am starting with the question that I have about the Bearcats passing attack. That's all on today's podcast that is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Joining us as he is always, the man in charge of the best corner of the internet for Bearcats fans, Chad Brendel. Chad, what you got for me, man?
Winning is fun. Winning is a lot of fun, and
Yes.
It makes my life a lot better. And another win. Let's keep it moving. And just as everybody predicted, Jeff, at some point in time this season, the Bearcats would be on College game day.
Exactly.
Like we all predicted.
We had it on our bingo card. You can now mark it off. You're probably closer to bingo than you thought you would be.
Yeah. The question, what week is Cincinnati going to get game day? Week 10.
Right. Exactly. Week 10. And could they get it twice in one season? That all depends on kind of how they go this week for sure. And we're to the point now that they're so successful that I'm splitting hairs a little bit. I'm squinting a little bit, but I have noticed something over the last couple of weeks that's less explosion from the passing attack. I mean, there was the one pass against UCF for Jeff Caldwell that was a very nice touchdown that Brendan Sorsby had, but it kind of feels like that's staple. The thing that was early on in the Big 12 season that they were just killing people with, this explosive passing attack from Brendan Sorsby, has really been quelled here recently, and I'm curious as to your thoughts about this. Is this a game script thing? Is this more of a game plan on Cincinnati side, or is this the opponents keying in on that and being successful at stopping
it? Here's the first thing to remember. They're still averaging over 7 yards of play. They're top 5 in the country in yards per play. So teams are obviously, and Baylor runs a defense similar to Cincinnati that's very bend but don't break. It broke a lot on Saturday, but they don't want to let you get deep. And that's prevalent in this conference. Teams don't want to let you get over the top of them. Right. The nice thing is that in last year, for example, when they started taking that away, that team offensively couldn't answer the bell. They didn't have, it goes back to an old Mick Cronin, and I've heard this elsewhere, like in college basketball, you got to dance all the dances. Mm-hmm. You got to be able to do what the defense allows you to do. And some teams don't have that in their bag. If you take that over-the-top passing game away, then all of a sudden their offense is, capped at the knees.
Yeah.
Cincinnati's offense doesn't have that, at least that we've seen to this point in the season. The deep passing game has slowed down. Some of that, I think, Sorsby's overthrown some guys that have been open. It's one of the few kind of flaws that he's had throughout the season, because he's been so good at almost everything. But they're still just chunking teams down the field. It's just of the 10 to 20 yard variety and not the 40 to 50 yard variety. Like, even if you go back and look at the Baylor game, until they were trying to eat clock, all of those drives were under 5 minutes. All those scoring drives were under 5 minutes. They were going right down the field. So as long as that's still happening, I'm not too concerned with not being able to get over the top, because teams are obviously seeing that and going, hey, we're going to play this shell. We're going to have the umbrella over the top, and we're not going to let them get past us, but they don't have to. They're not just throwing balls up and praying they can get a pass interference or whatever. They've got this rhythm on offense between the running game and the passing game that, look, we can get what we need. So if it's not there, we're not going to force it. We don't have to take it because we're still going to go 70, 80 yards in 3.5 minutes and score a touchdown. And that's okay with us.
That is a nice thing. And I will begrudge that I am squinting a little bit hard here because the point now where this Bearcats team is so successful that we are really fine-tooth combing this as far as like, what are we worried about? What's the concern? Because to this point, like you mentioned, we haven't seen it. We haven't seen the struggle on offense like we saw last year. Now, they are facing the best defensive team they faced all year. Like, I think Utah's even better than Nebraska, aren't they, on defense?
Utah's nasty on defense. And it's going to be
it feels like
a big-time task because they are super, super aggressive.
Right. And so the offensive line is going to be tested. Brendan Sorsby under pressure is going to be tested, but also the running game is going to be tested too, even though, EPA wise, the Utah's not as great against the rush. I wonder a little bit about how that is like game script wise, because they played a lot of close games and there's been moments where it's like other teams really have to go. So it's not as if they can just hand the ball off and run their normal offense, but it feels like the Bearcats are going to be able to try to do that so long as Utah respects that explosive passing game.
Yeah, the thing is Utah's style is quite a bit different than what Cincinnati's been seeing. They load the line of scrimmage. They try to be ultra aggressive getting after your quarterback. We haven't seen a lot. Kansas did some of it, and I thought it was probably the game that the offensive line maybe struggled the most. And that's understandable. They're running constant stunts and games and, they're trying to trick you. Utah, a lot of times, they just send numbers. And one of the nice things is, going in at least, Sorsby has been great against the blitz. So teams that are bringing pressure, he's making them pay for it. But he's going to have to be pretty quick on the trigger. And that's something this year, man, we have seen him standing back in that pocket with a clean pocket. Just you can see him read 1, read 2, read 3, read 4, and then delivering to the open guy. They're going to have to make some quicker decisions, I think, this week. Probably, again, negates some of the deep passing stuff. But I think it's really important because Utah will jump on you. Ask Colorado this week. Utah just hit them with a landslide at the beginning of the game. Colorado wasn't ready for it, and that game was over before you could blink. Cincinnati's got to do what they've been doing, which is control the early part of the game. And that's going to be a challenge. I love K Ford. I think their ratings tend to be pretty indicative of what's really happening out there. Utah's 8th on defense, 20th on offense. So forget this might be the toughest game so far. This is especially on the road, night start. That place is going to be super worked up, having college game day there in the morning. Like, it is going to be a hostile environment. This is the toughest game of the year for Cincinnati.
And especially, I don't know that the team feels this, but like looking at the week as a whole, this might be the best game on the slate of college football this week. And so just all of that, it just kind of feels like it's all funneling into just the most pressure that we've seen, the most pressure that Scott Satterfield has seen. But to be honest with you, there's a factor here. Like, Brendan Sorsby obviously is going to be a key focal point, as he should be in every single week. He's the quarterback. But the Bearcats were able to control Baylor because of their running game. And when you look at some things with Utah's defense, I feel like there's an opportunity here to kind of copy paste week to week. We'll discuss that next. As we hit the stretch run of the college football season, and of course the NBA season is going, there's no better place than to take advantage of all of these sporting events than over on FanDuel. Whether you pop the game on TV on a Tuesday night and you're just seeing a couple of basketball teams go, and try and get that dub, or you're watching the Bearcats, FanDuel's got you covered. Plus, new users with your first winning $5 bet will get $300 in bonus bets. Those kind of odds are crazy. Speaking of odds, let's look at the opening line for your Bearcats against Utah. The Bearcats are underdogs by more than a touchdown, at least at line opening, 7.5-point dogs. Are you kidding me? Smash the heck out of that. Over at FanDuel, go check them out today. Smash the Bearcats, making sure they're going to get that dub this Saturday. And FanDuel is the place to go. Again, new users, $300 in bonus bets with your first winning $5 bet. Download FanDuel today. Thank you for making Locked On Bearcats part of your day, and I invite you to make it part of your everyday routine if you haven't done so. If you're an everydayer, you rock, and that's because you hit that subscribe button right here on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app, because we're free and available on all platforms. So I do feel confident in the Bearcats' ability to get this win this week, Chad. And I hope you agree with me. If you don't, we'll get there in just a minute. But one of the reasons I feel comfortable about this is because how well they've ran the ball this year. Because if they were a one-dimensional offense, I feel like I would be a lot more concerned about this game, especially with Utah's ability to really limit opposing passing attacks. But if there's a weakness, and you got to squint really hard, like you mentioned, K Ford loves them, EPA loves them, everybody loves them defensively. They're not the best at limiting rushing attacks, and it felt like the Bearcats really put a lot of that on tape for them to really worry about heading into this game after they beat Baylor the way that they did.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the main thing you got to watch is what's the status of Evan Pryor, who left that game with a lower leg injury. It looked like limped off in the fourth quarter. If you got him, I feel good about running the ball. Also, you're going to need to keep contact early, like we just talked about in the last segment.
Yep.
It's hard to run the ball if you're down 10, 14 points and you feel like you have to, make it up. You have to kind of get back in it. So, again, starting fast is going to be critical for this team. I think it gives them a much better chance to do what they want to do, to run their game script, which is be balanced and make a team figure out how are they going to stop 6 different weapons, if you count Sorsby's legs, at any given time, because they've been able to make plays at every wide receiver position. How about the emergence of Isaiah Johnson?
Yeah.
Who is becoming a real threat on those jet sweeps and those tosses. That's going to be where Cincinnati has to make their hay against Utah, is trying to spread them out. Because like I said, they want to pack the box. They want to come after your quarterback. They want to be ultra aggressive. That can cause them some issues in the run game. But I think it's just as important that you're able to hit Joe Royer over the middle if they're bringing a lot of pressure. That you can make a play to Cyrus Allen where he catches the ball in space with some room to run against what should be mostly single coverage, the way that they pressure. So the run game is going to be ultra important, but I think you also have to back them off a little bit and get them to where they're kind of second guessing. I don't know if that's the right word, but where they're looking around and going, okay, what is Cincinnati going to try to do to us next? And that's going to require Scott Satterfield to be in his bag as a play caller. Because
you mentioned Isaiah Johnson, and that's what brings me to that next point. Like, it feels like the Bearcats have been able to be two-dimensional against the defenses they face to this point, but that's what Utah wants to do. They want to keep everything two-dimensional. So does Isaiah Johnson, does Cyrus Allen, the sort of modified triple option jet sweep thing that they've been doing here recently, do we see more of that this week?
Maybe. I mean, the thing you worry about is a lot of those plays are east-west, and you don't want to run a ton of them. You want to run them to keep a defense honest. So I don't know that we're going to see a large increase in something like that, unless they're just getting caught inside the tackle box and you think you're going to be able to get out wide and really make some plays out there, which is possible with the way that Utah plays. So I would look for it to definitely be a part of the game plan. Just teams are having a hard time stopping him. When he's able to turn that edge, and he's only a sophomore, like, get used to that name going forward, because he's just scratching the surface on what they can do with Isaiah Johnson. He's really impressed me so far.
Yeah, because I think they did that twice. They might have done it more times, but I can remember twice, and they were both first downs when they ran
they ran it. Yep.
The jet sweep, and then he runs that traditional route across the end zone, and he breaks free from his defender and gets that touchdown that really sealed the margin of victory for them anyway. But it felt like at that point they had a good handle on the game. But
that was a great play by Sorsby, by the way. If you listen to him in the post game, that play, they had never actually repped it going to Isaiah Johnson.
Oh, wow.
The play was always power left, Sorsby rolls out right, and you get him and Tawi, 2 guys, 1 defender, because everybody goes with the power, and then that play's open. They sent a linebacker with Sorsby, and I think it was a safety with Tawi, so they had it covered, and Sorsby had to improvise, and he said they had not one time all week thrown that to Isaiah Johnson, but he didn't really he was going to get sacked. He didn't have Tawi, and he just had to kind of freelance it, and saw Isaiah get free and drop that sidearm spot, and he might have a place in Major League Baseball. I mean, the sidearmers are tough to hit, Jeff.
Right. Well, I mean, especially that throw, it did look like a little bit of a cut fastball that kind of, found Isaiah Johnson's chest. It was a great throw. I was right down there in the corner watching. Could be. Like, I think the Reds should be scouting this for sure. But I do know, like, with Isaiah Johnson and with Brendan Sorsby, the RPO is going to be so key in this, because Brendan Sorsby's ability to really get those chunk yards has to be in the back of the mind. Utah cannot just key in on number 6 or number 3 in the backfield. They got to worry about number 2. They got to worry about number 0 coming across the middle. And even Cyrus Allen, to an extent, like, I still think back to that touchdown they had. Was it against UCF or Oklahoma State, where it was the, fake to the back, run out, and a pitch option to Cyrus Allen, where he was able to score that way too. Like you said, in his bag as a play caller, Scott Satterfield, but it feels like he's going to be more in his bag on the rushing side than on the passing side.
We'll see. I don't know. I mean, like I said, I think it's going to be really interesting in how they come out in this thing, because if you focus too heavily on the running side, Jeff, and you're 3 and out your first 2 drives, might be 14-17 nothing.
Right.
So you can't be like, that is something that I think is more for game flow in the middle, right? If it's 10-10 or you're up 14-10 or whatever, then you can get a little bit more in your bag doing that stuff. I don't think you want to come out too conservative, because they're going to be fired up. If you just line up and try to run right at them early, I fear that you're going to be punting a couple times, and Utah will offensively. And everybody talks about Utah's defense. They're 20th in offense on K-Ford. Right. Like, this is an offense that can hurt you, and they are willing to slowly grind you out, right? That they aren't necessitated on the big play. They will say, okay, you want us to go 8 yards at a time down the field, we'll do that, and you can't really stop us. So they've got to be able to get 10 points, 14 points in the first quarter, or else I'm worried about this game.
The good news is they've outscored opponents 97-10 in the first quarter to this point. So hopefully
that is good news.
They keep that up. Yeah, it's not all keying on the third quarter, which we don't like right now. We like all the other 3 quarters, not the third one.
The third quarter you can do, because you've outscored opponents 97-10 in the first quarter. You can survive it.
Right.
Yeah.
That 41-37 deficit that they're facing in the third quarters right now doesn't look so bad when you're up 87 after the first. So I'm optimistic about how the offense can attack this Utah defense. Like you said, a little worried about what the defense is going to do. It kind of feels like they've just got to find those turnovers somewhere, because otherwise Utah's going to move the ball. Just period, plain and simple. With all that being said, there's plenty to look forward to. I'm going to see what Chad's got for me as far as like early week predictions for this game. We're going to need some good coffee on Saturday night as East Coast.
We need a couple naps.
Late Night Reds Bearcats edition, right? Am I right? We got predictions coming up next. The next time that you get down to the ballpark, whether it be for the Bearcats, whether it be to the arena for the basketball team, or even you're going to a Bengals game, maybe you're going to a Cyclones game, Game Time's got you covered for all of it, because Game Time makes the ticket buying process simple. Whether you're going to somewhere you've always known and you're looking for the best deal, Game Time's got those, or you're going to a brand new place and you're not sure what you're going to get into, Game Time can show you your view from your seat. Plus, in all cases, they show you the upfront pricing. That way, you don't get surprised by fees or taxes or anything like that after you add the ticket to your cart. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. You can always continue the conversation with us after the podcast is over. You can follow me on Twitter at Jeff Carr with 3 Fs. I'm also on TikTok at that username as well. And you can follow Chad at Chad Brendel. There's no Fs in that on Twitter. You're not on TikTok. That's right. You're not on TikTok just yet.
Bearcat
You're still working on your first dance. Bearcat Journal.
Bearcat Journal's on TikTok. I just don't use it a lot.
Right. I mean, when you get the first dance going, that's really everything just falls into place after that. Although I am still working on my first dance for TikTok. It'll probably involve food. There's a good dance.
Yeah, it's probably that might become a food channel here at some point in time, because it's just not a sports heavy platform.
Not quite. I'm trying, at least for Cincinnati. But I know this. This is going to be a tough game. As I mentioned a little bit ago, the Bearcats are already underdogs by more than a touchdown. I think that line might move a little bit to the point where it's less than a touchdown, but I don't foresee them becoming a favorite in this game just because of where the national discourse is when it comes to Utah over Cincinnati. They believe in Utah more than they believe in Cincinnati, I believe, even though we know otherwise. So when you look at this game, what's your first thought?
You have to be able to handle their physicality. That is a super, super physical team. I think Iowa State is physical. I think Utah is even a step higher than Iowa State. So early in the game, you're going to have to take some shots and bounce back up, and be ready for it, and be ready for what they want to hit you with right out of the gate. I just, that part concerns me, because it's not a style that is prevalent in the Big 12. Like, they just play a different, defensively, they play a different kind of football than the rest of the league.
More Big Ten-esque, right?
Kind of, yeah. There's some SEC principles. There's some Big Ten line up and smack you in the mouth stuff. But that's really the big concern for me, is if they can get to the middle of the second quarter and it's, within a score, both teams are kind of battling back and forth, then I feel pretty good about things. I just worry about that first 20, 25 minutes, because it's an adjustment. It's not something that they've played a lot against. I mean, yeah, and Nebraska's style, but Nebraska was light in the box, and Cincinnati should have run the ball more in that game. Maybe that game gives you a lesson on don't get away from it, and don't, just because you get down a little bit, you don't have to throw all the time because you're playing a little bit from behind. Nebraska only scored 20 points in that game. Like, you weren't that behind. Yeah, you were trailing, but you weren't that behind. So hopefully that's something that they took away from that. And we're going to see how Brendan Sorsby stacks up against top 10 defense.
That's
going to be the story of this game.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, 100% agree with that, because it feels more like Utah wants to win 20-19 as opposed to 40-39 or something like that. They're not going to try to explosively kill you on offense. They're going to try to nickel and dime you, win the time of possession, and then shut you down on defense, making you, give them the ball back pretty quickly. I'm bullish on the offensive line in this game. Maybe I'm overconfident to a point on that. Do you believe that the offensive line is going gonna get its own in this game.
Yeah, I mean, this has been an outstanding offensive line. Make no bones about it. They have been excellent. I mean, we're still at 2 sacks on the season.
Yeah.
Which is, 8 games in. That's insane. Playing at a power 5 level, power 4 level. Like, teams are trying to bring down your quarterback. The offensive line has done a great job. Sorsby's done a great job. And then they've also been dominant in the running game. When they've needed the run game, it has been there pretty much all year. So that does give me some confidence that this offensive line is going to be able to handle what Utah throws at them. And then what they don't handle, I mean, let's be honest, Sorsby has done a great job when there has been pressure. Somebody said today on Bearcat Journal on the message board, some of the best throws Sorsby made this year has been the throwaways.
Yep.
Because last year he was trying to force those things. I'm in trouble. And try to get a quick throw out, and it's contested in traffic, causes a turnover. That turnover flips the momentum of the game. Like, he hasn't done that all year. He's going to have to be really good at it again Saturday, because they're going to get some guys through. They're sending numbers. If they're sending 6 and 7 and you've only got 5 to block them, there's going to be guys that are free at times. He's going to have to make the right read and either make the quick throw if it's there, or throw it away and live to fight another down. I thought against Baylor, there were 3 or 4 times he was excellent at that, where, hey, it's 1st and 10. I'm going to throw this thing away because we average 7.5 yards a play.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to get 7 on the next play, and then we're going to be in 3rd and 3, and then we're going to convert the 1st down, and then we're going to, keep the ball rolling. So that's going to be a big thing. I think the O-line is going to be really good. They might not be great just because of what Utah throws at you, but then Sorsby should be able to answer for some of that himself in getting the ball out quick, throwing it away, doing what needs to be done.
I've been told that the kids like it when people say 6-7, so I thank you for helping out the algorithm there. You got me. I appreciate that. So, do they win?
I don't think so.
I think the unbeaten streak ends this week.
I do. And look, this might, if you're going to take one, this might be the perfect one to take. Utah's already got 2 losses in conference. So you're going to have to lose another one before you even enter a tiebreaker situation with Utah.
Right.
Win this one, or if you lose this one and you win BYU, you're still in a really good spot to get into the conference championship game. I think this offense is still going to be good, but maybe not as good as we have seen so far this year against Utah's defense. Night game, game day, just really hard to win. It's just really hard to win. I don't think it's a blowout. I think Cincinnati is in the fight all the way until 1:30 in the morning.
It's gonna be late.
But I think Utah finds a way to eke it out. I think it's a good chance Cincinnati covers. And I'm not going to be shocked if Cincinnati wins. I'm not saying this is a game Cincinnati can't win. Right. I just think a lot of things point to Utah winning a good game.
I have been surprised to this point by the Bearcats this season, so I have a hard time picking against them, but I understand what you're saying. I understand the points that you're making here because of how Utah has looked, even in the game against BYU. Like, that game was not anywhere near the final for most of that game. Everything sort of happened there at the end. And that kind of feels like what the Bearcats are going to have to do too.
I will say this. Utah has played 2 really tough games. They've played Texas Tech and BYU. They're 0-2. So if Cincinnati is on that level, then this is a winnable game. I just think it being there, being at night, being game day, there's a lot stacking up against the Bearcats.
Yeah, from a spectator standpoint, I hate the 10 p.m., but I can't imagine, like, from a player standpoint. Like, I get it. They're going.
They don't love it.
Yeah, I mean, but they're going to be sitting all day just thinking about this game. Like, I don't. Do they take a video game with them and just try to distract themselves a little bit? I don't know what you do.
Try to sleep. Try to rest and nap and watch some football because, I mean, what? 10 o'clock. I mean, it's 8:15 out there. They probably won't even get ready to start going to the stadium until 4 or 5 o'clock. Like, you're going to get to watch the entire noon slate of games. get up, do your walkthrough, have breakfast, all that stuff. Try to get a little lunch in you, and then you're going to get to go back to the hotel and watch some games and kind of relax for hours.
This feels like an extreme test for multiple different reasons. Just how good Utah is, the attention on this game, and the late kickoff. So it's going to be interesting to see how Scott Satterfield and everybody gets them set for this game, because that's going to be their biggest test. It feels like they've been mentally disciplined to this point, but this is as far to the extreme as you're going to get, because they're not going to have a later kickoff than this for sure. But I don't even think they will have another 10 p.m. kickoff, will they?
No, because BYU and Arizona are both here.
Here, yeah.
They're not going to give TCU a 10-15 kick. That's going to be the West Coast teams that are going. Colorado, Arizona State, Utah, BYU. They're going to get those. One of those is going to get that 10-15 kick every week. No, this will be the latest, but hopefully we get a nip at night for BYU.
Be fun.
Hopefully,
it'd be a lot of it. They deserve that for sure, especially in that game. Especially if BYU beats Texas Tech the week before, like that'll be the most important game of the year.
I got a stat for you. You want something to keep an eye on this weekend?
Let's do it. Close us out.
I bet you did not know this. Kansas State, Texas Tech. Kansas State has won 12 of the last 13 meetings against Texas Tech. The only time in that stretch that Texas Tech won, Pat Mahomes was the quarterback.
Well, so that probably means they're keyed up for it, but at the same time, they got BYU the next week. There's probably a little bit of look ahead there for them.
And Kansas State is playing well. They smacked the poop out of Kansas. Kansas State is starting to look like the team that everybody thought was going to win the Big 12. So
they knocked that Kansas win down a rung or two on the ladder of important wins for the Bearcats this season, unfortunately. But it was still good to see this Bearcats team get that win and really start this run.
If you like trends, that was the 18th straight win, Kansas State over Kansas.
Jeez. So they got a few dominant wins. Hopefully they do the Bearcats a favor and knock Texas Tech down one, and then that could be a lot of fun to see. But let's take care of business. My confidence might have wavered slightly in the Bearcats winning this week, but I still feel okay about it. We'll see. We'll keep talking about this. We'll keep previewing this game, breaking it down all week long here on Locked On Bearcats. I'm stoked to see exactly what Scott Satterfield's got up his sleeve, because this is going to be the next big test for him. Not as if like he loses this and all of a sudden we stop believing in him, but he could really vault himself into the upper echelon of coaches this week against Utah with a great performance. Sure. And we're going to be all over it here on Locked On Bearcats. Chad, I appreciate you joining us yet again this week. Make sure you check out Bearcat Journal if you don't already, and if you're part of Bearcat Journal and you're joining Locked On Bearcats, I really appreciate you, because we talk Bearcats every single day, and that's basketball and football. It's just, football has been really important here this year, and so we're getting into basketball a little bit more in the coming weeks, especially as they head into the bye week in a couple of weeks as well. But we're going to be with you every step of the way here on Locked On Bearcats. Make sure you subscribe, and thanks for making us your first listen. For your second listen, go check out Locked On Big 12. Drake Toll has the most exciting conference in America covered every single day over on Locked On Big 12. It's just like Locked On Bearcats. We're all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every single day. We'll see you tomorrow.